Wig, we need more from you, or else we're going to have to make these changes. And so that's going to be the key for him and for them going forward, is to be able to kind of influence him to do something which he hasn't done. And that finally on this point is, to your point about him being in the gym and being local for some of that this summer so far, and there will be other occasions later this summer they'll be here, he would disappear in the summer and do his own workouts. And the team did not have much interaction with him. So if Ryan and Gerson have more of that connectivity with him and can at least say, hey, Andrew, we need you to be working on this. We need you to be doing this and focusing on this. Maybe there's a better chance that that sinks in and he can apply that coming into next season.
612 TSR time. Steve Terry is the managing partner of TSR Injury Law. Steve, it's a really cool thing that you guys started in Minnesota as a small business and have grown into what you are today. Tell us about your business.
It's kind of funny. It used to be Terry and Associates with no associates. True story. It was me and paralegal named Sherry Beinhoff, who is still with us. She is now kind of handles. She's a paralegal, and she does a lot of the business stuff for us now, but my wife calls her my daytime wife. But anyway, it was just the two of us starting out. Now there's 35 of us total out here in Edina. We're very, very happy to be Minnesota born and kind of, have our homes here. Where I live is 2 miles away from my office. My daughters go to public schools here. It's nice. We actually like being Minnesotans. It's good. Even though I'm from Detroit and I love Michigan. Go Juwan Howard. Don't forget about that. We got to come back to that. But no, business wise, we're happy to be here and things are going well. And thank you for this podcast too. It's been a nice opportunity to kind of spread the word to folks who maybe don't watch TV or billboards or listen to radio.
Are there any people like that? Yeah, let's say there are.
Every once in a while, I find someone who's like, TSR what? And it just breaks my heart. It makes me cry.
Well, you've done a good job with marketing and messaging. But the cool thing is, as we've gotten to know you, we know that people actually, if they call here, they will talk to you. And I just moved, and I'm so disappointed with the world of customer service right now because everybody gets your money and then just runs as fast as they can away from you. Everybody. It's like I'm dealing with 5 different companies, and they were great to deal with right up until they got the payment, and then they were gone. And you guys are the opposite. People call here, they deal with you or one of your associates, and you don't charge anybody unless you actually win the case. I love that. Yeah,
it's actually... we will never be accused of overbilling because we don't bill by the hour. Right. And if you win, we win. And the joke that a lot of my clients, once things have calmed down and we're kind of a year into it, we settle the case or whatever it may be, is they say, I'm really glad you have a nice car because that means you're winning, you know, and the more we advertise, that means we're winning. Billboards aren't free. This podcast is not free. Hello. I know it's not free, especially Brandon's salary. It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
And so it's, but the ability to get the word out, I will say that, quite frankly, I'm sick of the marketing too. I joke like I'm sick of seeing my face or what have you, but it does work. And when people call, we take it very seriously. In fact, I kind of mentioned this. We actually have a podcast listener who can't get too much into it, obviously, for attorney-client reasons, but he had called about his daughters who were in a crash and gave him the free consultation. He was actually surprised I was on the phone. I'm like, no, I'm a real person. I actually answer my phone, and we ended up meeting, and I'm helping out his daughters and getting them on the road to recovery and handling all the insurance stuff. And he was just very thankful for the opportunity, and I'm thankful to be able to help out families and make it better. And so that's how it works. It's simple. You literally call 612 TSR time and you'll talk to a lawyer. We'll give you the free advice. And if you like us and we like you, if we think we can help, we're gonna meet with you and you'll be dealing with us directly. And I give out my cell phone and you call me, you text me. As you know, we sit here, my phone's ringing all the time. Not as much as John. I mean, that's a whole other deal. Because Ricky is not texting me, but in theory,
if John asked Ricky to text you, Ricky would text you.
That would be nice.
Okay. Very good.
I want Zion to text me. That's what I want to text.
No kidding. All right, back to Drake. By the way, seriously, are you sick of Drake yet?
Oh yeah. It's ridiculous. I like rap music. I like Drake. I don't mind the courtside celebrity, but I am sick of him. And it's like he needs to relax a little bit.
Yes. A little CBD oil, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, but also like the one, like, to turn the lens on ourselves. Like, why do we have to talk about him? Like, why is he why is this yeah, he's out there, and he's kind of he can kind of cross the line every once in a while, but he's not influencing these games at all. Like,
no, just
these
annoying
guys,
me, that's all.
Yeah, exactly. And but I mean, it gets covered. Like, I mean, these players are talked. Draymond Green's asked, "What'd you say to Drake?" After the games, like, who cares what you said to Drake?
Don't you think though the difference is that Drake is in some ways more popular than a lot of the ball players.
Without question.
And I mean, so that's like the Jack Nicholsons of the world. They actually have more money.
Yeah.
I mean, who has more money than the ball players?
Yeah.
Like, people joke with me like, oh, you're in the Jack Nicholson seat. So I'm like, trust me, there's a big difference between where I'm sitting and Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
But it's like nobody cares about, me or my law firm or whatever. I'm not standing up massaging people and all this kind of crazy stuff. But with Drake, it's like he is famous.
Yeah.
And he could be more famous than the majority of Golden State.
Right.
And probably has more money than a couple of them.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little bit different, but at some point kind of pull back just a little bit. You don't need Adam Silver to tell you to calm down to get the message.
Well, yeah, and I mean, there probably is going to come a time where he gets a technical foul in a game. Like,
seriously.
Like, he's that close. Like, I mean, if you're coming onto the court,
that's the thing.
That's the way that you rein him in.
Has that ever?
I don't know. Like, I think
I mean, fan bases in college have gotten technicals for throwing things on the court and things like that. And this is really the same thing. It's a guy stepping onto the court and touching the opposing coach. I mean,
yeah, but I do think, like, in general, officials try to be respectful of the fan in those things as much as possible, just given how much money they're paying for those seats. One of the things that makes the NBA unique is fans are so close to the action and can interact and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, if you cross the line, that's the next step, you would think, to sending a message that, look, man, yeah, we know you're a big deal. Yes, you are a huge star. All those things. It's great that you're supportive of this team, but we got to draw a line somewhere. I
just think the officials should mock him by doing that in the box dance that he did in that one video, the worst video of all time. I mean, let's get creative here.
I'm sure Draymond will do that.
Yes, he will. Yes. Draymond would do that. That's the cool thing.
Mm-hmm.
Derek Rose working on a book. I don't know if it's been published yet, but some of the excerpts are out there, and he basically talks about Jimmy Butler a lot. I'll just throw it to you guys. Have you read it, Steve?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay. So Derek Rose is working on a book with Sam Smith, the Chicago basketball writer, and he gets into some of the behind-the-scenes stuff with Jimmy. It's not like explosive stuff or anything. It's
behind the scenes with the Wolves?
Yeah, with the Wolves.
Okay.
And it's not explosive, but he just kind of provide some detail, and I'll just throw it to John to kind of explain that.
Yeah, so what he said, basically, there's a couple of things that he said. He said, Jimmy was frustrated because the young guys were getting paid before he got paid. And so he said Jimmy went about it.
He already got paid.
Well, that's the thing. He said,
sorry.
No, but you're right.
He said Jimmy went about it the wrong way, but he said I think he was right that he should have gotten money. But this is the clear misunderstanding that Derek Rose has, that Jimmy Butler had at the time, that the Wolves' mechanism for paying him, just the way that the salary, the contracts lined up, Towns had to get paid before Jimmy because the Wolves literally could not pay Jimmy the max money that he wanted until this upcoming summer. And so I just don't know that Jimmy ever really fully grasped that nuance. But the other part that was, I think, a little more credible is, Derek said, look, Karl Anthony Towns, great player. I like him. He's a good guy, but some of these young kids are given things before they earn them in terms of, I think, the status, in terms of being the face of the franchise, in terms of maybe how team officials and things cater to these guys. And so that, I think, was part of the issue too, was, it was a sort of a Jimmy and a Cat thing. Whose team is this? All of that stuff. And that's something that Towns, as a young player, is going to have to grapple with, is the depiction of this is all being given to you. You haven't done enough to earn it from a wins and losses competitive standpoint. And we've talked about this on this podcast before, though. Leadership and becoming a leader is tricky in the league. Like, Towns clearly wants it. Like, he wants to be the spokesman. He wants to be the leader. But I don't think at 22 or 23 years old, he's necessarily known the right ways to go about that yet. And I think that sometimes causes teammates in the locker room to kind of roll their eyes or, come on, Cat, what are you talking about? Kind of a thing. You're not ready for this yet. And so that has always been sort of the one of the issues facing this Wolves locker room is how badly that Cat wants it and how talented he is, but he still is figuring out how best to get people to follow him, and you're going to stub your toes. I mean, Kyrie has done it a bunch. LeBron, like all these guys as young players, have their missteps before they figure things out, and I think that's what Jimmy was seeing with Cat, and he didn't want to wait for that.
I'm pretty sure I'm not buying that book. But I do want to say, and that makes sense. I think part of the and full disclosure, when we got Jimmy, I was super stoked. I mean, I don't.
Me too.
I mean, it was a great trade. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, how it ended up is what it is. But I think if I would have thought a little bit deeper, what Tibbs did by trading young pieces, which we now know is marketing and done and what have you. Is he sped up the timeline, and you bring in Jimmy, who thinks he's an alpha, and he has an alpha personality, but also, let's be frank, hasn't done. Mm-hmm. He's never made it past anything. Okay, he's not a champion, and now he's on his third team, so he needs to look in the mirror. But whatever. But by coming in and him being older, like when Flip was running things, it was like we had this nucleus and we're going to just suck but we're going to kind of grow together, and then you kind of add similar pieces. Jimmy was much older, and so you can kind of see, we all know his story, and he has earned, he is a good player, and he has earned his right to think he's the leader. But when you are the overall first pick, and quite frankly, Cat is more talented than Jimmy. I'm not saying he's a better player, but he is more talented. It's not even close. I'm much happier now as a fan that we have reshifted back to Cat being the center, and let's build around him. Whether it's Wiggins or whatever, but at least they're the same age, which then gets us to the lottery, which I know you were going to tell us about a trade that's occurred.
Yeah, right.
Right. It's on your phone.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, there it
I think
is.
we moved up to the fifth pick. Just you can tell the listeners later.
Why I think small.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like I think we need to kind of reboot and get back into our time frame here. Make the playoffs, but you're going to have a couple years of getting your ass whooped, but then 3 to 4 years from now you have the nucleus. It's all the proper age. Then you roll.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, getting back to Flip, he brought in KG and Tayshaun and Andre Miller with those young guys, but those were all guys that were at the end of their careers and knew it, and so they were more willing to be the mentor type in those roles. And kind of show the young kids the way and understand that they're not winning a championship this year, but they can help these guys, and that's the role that they can have. Tibbs tried to reunite this Bulls team that he put together that never was able to do anything because of the Rose injuries and and everything else. And a lot of those guys, Jimmy, even Taj to an extent, and Derek was trying to get back in, but still felt like I still have some of my prime left. Jimmy is right in the middle of his prime. And so there was an impatience, I think, in some of that, like, look, I'm not here to wait around for these young guys to learn anymore. We got to go, and we got to go right now. And that was where things did not work that way. So it had to eventually go back to this, because, I mean, you could even say it. I think we said it at the time, like when Jimmy was traded and when you went through that pain, it was probably for the best anyway, because did you want to be giving him 5 years and $200 million this summer?
No.
Probably not, right? And so